So you get a house under contract and you're really excited to start marketing it to find a cash buyer, but then you're looking at the paperwork and you start freaking out. You're like, oh my God, what if I can't find a cash buyer in time? What if I'm held responsible for actually closing on the property? I don't have any money. What am I gonna do? Well, don't stress. There's actually 3 things that you could do in every wholesale transaction to avoid this situation. Let's talk about it. All right, so you got a deal under contract. You're super stoked because you're gonna start marketing it to find a cash buyer. So you go on to Craigslist, you post a property flyer, you go onto social media, you start telling everybody about it, you put out bandit signs, you go to that networking meeting and you hold up a property flyer and you start marketing the property, but nobody wants the deal. And your palms start sweating and you start freaking out because you're like, oh my God, am I gonna be responsible? I promised this seller I would close by Friday. Am I gonna be responsible for having to close on the deal? Am I stuck in this transaction? Well, the good news is you are not stuck as long as you set up the transaction the correct way from the beginning. So what I wanna do in this video, and by the way, you should subscribe to my channel if you want more training videos like this. What I wanna do in this video is go through the 3 options that every wholesaler has as long as they set up their paperwork the right way. And speaking of paperwork, remember, wholesaling is a game of control. You're not actually trying to buy the real estate. You're trying to negotiate a price that's low enough, get the house under contract, and then market the property to a cash buyer, that's either a landlord or a rehabber, and get them to actually put up the money to buy the property, and you just create a little spread. You're kind of playing matchmaker, all right? And I have other training videos on our YouTube channel that break this process down. But what happens if you put the property under contract and for whatever reason you weren't able to negotiate a low enough price? Here are your options. Option number 1, and this is always an option, and when I tell people this, they're like, oh really, I can do that? And you actually can do this. It's very simple, and that's walk away. You simply walk away. That's it. As long as you have what we call an escape clause in your paperwork, you're able to quickly and easily walk away and get your earnest deposit back. So I want to read my escape clause in my investor-friendly paperwork. And if you're using standard association or realtor paperwork, you're going to want to make sure you add these types of clauses in there. My escape clause is my inspection period clause, and I want to read it to you real quick. This is riveting stuff. Buyer's obligation to close this transaction are subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. A, the buyer is satisfied with the status of the title to the property. B, the buyer is satisfied with the buyer's investigations and inspections of the property, and including all plumbing, electrical, heating, blah, blah, blah. And that the buyer, meaning me, the wholesaler, shall have up until the day before close of escrow, all right, for any reason whatsoever in my sole and absolute discretion to back out of the contract, walk away from the deal, and that you will release my entire earnest deposit back to me immediately. All right, it says pretty much that in some legal mumbo jumbo type jargon, but that clause is in there, and when the seller signs it and I sign it, that gives me the flexibility to walk away. All right, so worst case scenario, I just back out of the deal. All right, my second option is something I call a retrade. All right, it's basically a really thought through renegotiation. So it works like this. Sometimes when I'm negotiating to put a house under contract, the seller is stuck on a certain number and I cannot get them to budge off that number. And maybe it's too early in our relationship and not enough rapport has been built, or they're just for whatever reason stuck on that number because that's what they want or that's what they need. And I also understand the power of commitment. This is a very important principle that you need to understand. A lot of times if I go too hard and try to negotiate them to come off that price in the beginning of our relationship, they will flat out just say, no, I'm not interested, and they'll go and try to find another investor to work with. So I put the house under contract at the price that they want, knowing that the power of commitment is now working in my favor, and it'll be a lot easier for me to come back around later, a week later, 2 weeks later, and actually use my inspection results or a general contractor's bid and use that as a tool to go and say, hey, I would love to pay this amount, but look at all these things that are wrong with the property. This is way worse than I thought. This is a complete disaster. What are you going to do? We've wasted all this time, and I really want to work with you, but can you please, let's come up together, let's put our heads together and come up with some solution that works out for both of us. Would you be willing to take a little less or a little less or a little less? And I just slowly work them down using my inspection results or my general contractor's bid as a tool to do so. So that is the art of the retrade. And I think it's very important that you realize most of my deals I actually put under contract at a higher amount than I really want, and then I renegotiate them down during my closing period. All right? So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is to use OPM. You know what OPM stands for? Other people's money. And this is where the option where you can actually close on the deal using other people's money. And what I do is I let all my friends and family know, I let my entire circle of influence know, I'm constantly putting it out on social media and stuff, that if anybody has lazy money just laying around, I call it mattress money or money in your self-directed Roth or money that's in the stock market that's not earning you the returns that you want, let me know and we can work out a deal, because I'm out finding all this discounted real estate. And if you want to invest in any of my real estate deals, let me know and I'll have a conversation with you that explains how my private lending program works. And I do this all the time where I use other people's money and I actually close on the deal, and it slows down the clock to buy me enough time to go out there and find the cash buyer, or even better, I'll close on the deal using other people's money and I'll actually just lightly clean the place up, and I'll just throw it back up on the MLS, which is a much larger buyer pool than just rehabbers and landlords, and I'll actually retail the property. I call it wholesaling. So we'll actually list it on the MLS a little less than retail, and typically those properties will move really quickly, and I'll actually end up making more money. Even though I borrowed money to be able to pull this off, I'll actually net more money than I would if I would have just wholesaled it to a traditional cash buyer. All right, so now you know that you have 3 great options, so you don't have to stress out about getting stuck in a bad deal. What do you guys think? In the comment section below, leave your comments on this training video or ask me a question. Who knows? I might actually pull your question and create a new training video answering it right here on the channel. That's all I have for you right now. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that's it. I'm Cody Sperber, the Clever Investor, signing off for now. Take care, comb your hair. See you next time. Peace.